Good afternoon, everyone. Ooh, I don't hear myself. The meeting's called the order of South King Fire Board of Fire Commissioners, June 25th. It is now 5 o'clock. Meeting's called the order. Pledge of allegiance, please. Chief Devenbaugh, please. Thank you. You guys hear me okay? The echo. Hello, 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 hello. Test, hello, hello, hello. I good? Hello, hello, hello. Test, test. Good enough? Thanks, Chief. There you go. Perfect. Thank you. So we're down to item 3, approval of minutes from our regular meeting on May 28th, 2024, the minutes from the special meeting on June 12th, 2024. Anyone looked at those? If I have a motion for approval?
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Fuller, second by Commissioner Burris. Any discussion on those? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. We also just forgot, Commissioner Gates is not here today, so he's excused. Commissioner comments, I will start with Commissioner Vadino.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Burris,
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Fuller.
As has already been done by the chief, I just think we ought to recognize the 2 open houses and having been in the meeting planning business at one time, he did an excellent job to put together 2 excellent shows, and her team should be recognized too for helping, for working with her leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuller. I was going to say the same thing, so it took a little thunder, but thank you. I did attend the last one, open house, and as well, even though the weather was kind of up and down, I thought it was still great. You know, the community came out, which is really good. And also, I do thank Lori because I know she does a lot of work on that. Thank you. So, item number 5, public comments. Do we have any public comment? Please state your name and address for the record. Limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Okay. Hearing none, we're going on to item 5, which is Commissioner Committee reports. I know we had some committee reports, so who's doing them?
Okay, so Policy and Procedure Committee met, and you guys have some proposals in your packets. So the thing that was most urgent, I guess, was the station visit policy. And this was based off of the conversations we had a couple of meetings ago. So you guys should have been able to read it already.
Any comment? Mr. Burris?
I have a number of comments and questions. I think you knew I would. The first one is it our past practice to have multiple members of administration in our subcommittees?
Just the chief.
Administration.
So I saw in the minutes or something, that you were there, Director Ganem was there, Lori was there at the committee meeting. I mean, is that normal practice? Um, okay, I mean, as you know, I'm pretty new to this. But it seems like that's commissioner business. Labor wasn't represented in any of this. Commissioners were outnumbered by administration.
But not always. The thing that the administration added, particularly the chief, is what can be done, what his past history of what has been done. This particular section was added. We've never had a station visit policy. We considered quite a few of the variables, including having a chief officer going on the visit. And well, some of us said, well, maybe it wouldn't be a good idea to have the officer with us. As we thought about it, I got in trouble when I was first a commissioner by going to stations and seeing them, just dropping in, and managed to listen to a couple of them. They got my ear, and I continued on to pass those concerns on to up the chain, and that really wasn't appropriate. It didn't follow the chain of command, and because I didn't see any restriction on that and didn't ask anyone, I think that we were very well accepted in this meeting, where the discussion was very good. But I think the only thing was guidance with the chief, and that on the impact, and particularly labor, and how it might be viewed, and the restrictions that we need to keep in terms of the labor and what we hear. And some of the questions that they're asked are ones that we shouldn't be answering, and because they will create expectations that we as commissioners can't meet, and they might be concerned with.
So if, you know, the policy committee is more guidelines.
I can hear you. Well, I've got some more questions. I'm not really happy with that answer, but it's an answer. I appreciate that. So why is it that a member of the executive leadership team needs to be at the station visit? What does it add? What bad thing does it prevent? I mean, you said you got in trouble one time because you didn't realize what was appropriate or what was inappropriate to discuss. I'm certainly open to having a class on what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And I think we can all be trusted to be professional and ethical. So what is it that the administrative team adds to it?
So, again, that doesn't work for the board, that's the board's. My only goal was to try to. So, policy doesn't mean we're, oh, we're here. So, somebody to hit the document.
But I'd like to give you a little bit more too. I got a couple more questions. Give me.
We gotta go. Commissioner Medina.
Oh, yes, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
something.
When we looked at the policy, we did take into account what was said at that last meeting, and it was mentioned a couple times about having a chief officer. So that's why that's still in there. Because that's what we had asked for essentially in that meeting.
Okay. Why is, actually, this is just off the top of my head. It was between, what was it? 800 and 1,700 hours or something. How does a commissioner who has a regular job, a 9-to-5 job, participate?
Okay. Well, this policy was pretty much a compromise between wanting to visit the stations and legal counsel. So I have a job. I love to be able to visit outside of those hours. But considering that we had discussed talking about chief officers last time, this was just the compromise.
Part of the conversation. The crews that were is come by, you know. My being was just
Why do we meet at 62s instead of just the station? And actually, I should be asking the questions of one of
Okay.
two of you.
Okay, so for background, this was originally a policy that was written by, I believe, the chief. Was there anybody else involved in that?
Everybody on the management team had looked at this at one point.
Correct. So the policy originally was much more strict and we discussed it and moved stuff around. So it is, I mean, I agree. I'd like to be able to visit stations more easily, but because of what had been said at that last meeting and our legal counsel opinion, this is what we had brought forward. This doesn't mean we need to keep this. It was in the watching the last meeting, I believe the direction we specifically gave the chief was if we have to have a chief officer, that's fine. So that was what we were going off of. This isn't,
That is different than we requested it.
this is?
Well, I think I've heard a couple of times that we requested it, chief officer. I think that was, you requested it, agreed to it, just verbally in the meeting like 3 months ago. But I mean, we're getting the weeds here.
That request actually came from Chair Baruso.
Oh, I stand corrected.
Yeah, I did. I watched the meeting yesterday because I was curious. No, but this is just a suggestion. This is not something we even have to vote on.
This is only the beginning of the process and the one that we felt comfortable to really say, this is what we would like to move forward to the rest of the board was this particular one, and get your comments on it. The comments don't have to be ones tonight. They will be included in the next meeting. And the committee knows that it's going to meet a long time, many times to accomplish this. Given the current state of the bylaws that they have not essentially been revised. They've been edited over the years and wording changed and things added. But they really aren't something that somebody will sit down and say, oh, I understand. Because they shouldn't, they should understand. And so that's where we're at.
You want to finish your questions, Commissioner Burse? You want us to just write
No, I
the committee?
think I'm done with this. I mean, it's my comment would be is I think I can be trusted to know what's right and wrong. And I'm ethical enough to follow the rules. And I don't need a babysitter. Because I feel like that's what it is. That's
Great.
all I got.
Thank you.
So I guess is the committee open for emails from on the comments for any of the work
Can we receive emails or do we,
or what?
is that a,
Or you're looking for comments right now? Because without, he'll have to continue.
or do they have to be in public?
You should make your comments now in public.
You have anything else?
I don't think anybody's out of where I stand on this.
No, we can go back and we can look at them as a committee. This was based off of the comments from the last meeting and our legal advice. But I agree, I would like to be able to visit without a escort as well, but I understand that might be the direction we have to go.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. My comment, on Commissioner Burris is I looked at it too, and when you look at the work hours, so forward thinking, not all this board's going to be retired folks all the time, right? That are going to be working during the day. So you still have to take consideration somehow to get them in there. You're right. Because it's not going to stay the same. I won't be here. None of us will be here like in the next 5 years or so, right? Or whatever, right? Something can happen. So when you think about that, it makes it hard for someone to make those weekday trips like that. And so they will never get to the point where they can, unless we have somehow where times and stuff like that. And I understand, Chief, what you're saying about the crews and their work. I get it. But it's also for commissioners to, again, to understand the crews and what they do. And sometimes on weekdays they're out, and sometimes they're doing other things. And to be able to get the feel for the workday as a whole, weekends have to be in there too sometimes, right? And so that's when you look at that, because I've been there too, and Craig's and other folks too. Weekends are totally kind of different. You're still going on calls, but your weekend duties are different, right? And so it's nice to get that view than just a weekday view. So that's my comment on that one. Just to make sure that we encompass not just the current times of this board, but the future. Because like I said, we're not all going to be here, and some of the folks that might want to be on this board and get elected here will have jobs. And so that's one thing I just want to make sure we're saying that. Yeah. Not everyone works in the federal way. So, right now I have a job in Olympia, so it's very, very hard for me to come back sometimes to do that, but I understand. So, I mean, that's my biggest thing on that one. The computer kind of shut off. So anyway. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, then my question is, I guess, what is the feeling about having escorts versus going alone then? If that differs from the comments last time.
I don't have I'm fine with escorts. It's just I know that everyone's busy. And so if that's what you feel how you want to go, I mean, I know everyone's schedule changes though too, right? So have someone come in, and I'm fine with that. Because I think what the biggest thing for me is sometimes or not sometimes, when I read the language, I think we were talking about trust again. And I know that the chief is talking to you about building the trust throughout the ranks and throughout us, right? And so the trust has to come someplace, somehow, some ways at some time. And so I said in the last meeting, when we talked about this, that you have to trust our commission to know what they're doing and what they're going to say and what not to say. And as I trust the membership, hopefully to do the same thing. And I trust the commissioner to say, hey, I can't talk about that. So that's the biggest thing for me. So sometimes when I read language, it's kind of like, make sure that if you want to build this, we are starting at that point. And I know that the chief is having a retreat to build that with the local, to real build that back that's coming. So it kind of starts from the top down too, you know, because we don't have to trust the membership, then we shouldn't be up here, really.
Well, I'll go back to where we started. It's your guys' document to edit as you see fit. So,
Agree.
we did our best to follow the direction that was given to us. If you would like to see something different, that's within your swim lane.
Yes, Chief. Thank you.
One of the things that we struggled with over the years that it took to reach a new contract was the relationship of firefighters and the commissioners. And we had quite a bit of talk, only two at a time, working on how would we do that. And it was difficult during those times to figure out how would we do that. And putting this together, showing them what we really do. Because many of them, particularly the young ones, did not understand what the commissioners do. And so this may move that along of developing a friendly relationship with the firefighters and an understanding of what we really do.
Do you have other things you want to comment about? Your
From the
committee?
Committee?
Yes.
So the other thing that we had been asked to talk about was a commissioner calendar. We, at the time, didn't know if there was enough value in it just because we have our Outlook calendars already, and it's another calendar that Lori has to manage. I don't know. Comments on that?
Well, since it was mine. And I think I always looked at these type of calendars for one-stop shop, accountability for all of us to take a look at. So one calendar to look at, but I do understand some redundancy in it, and I knew that was some was in there. But so again, it's just a calendar. So for us to manage or not manage, but to take a look at to make sure where we're at. And I don't know when everyone's on vacation sometimes either. So I know Lori said that, you will let us know. And then I always let her know, usually when I'm out of town, because then I delegate my duties to vice chair. And so I'm fine with if you want to talk about, I mean, the things on some of this policy and stuff that I understand the committee goes through, and I know we can't have a quorum. But I'm trying to figure out a way that folks that the commission that bring to the committees that have strong feelings is can be able to speak on it during something. I don't know how to do that, how I would do that, how that would come about, other than sitting down and writing something. But then we all know that writing something, reading it versus a person that can talk about it and speak a way that trying to say, hey, here's my thoughts on it, because we can read between the lines, but we really don't know sometimes what they really mean. And so maybe I should approach Eric. I don't know how that would be done. Just a suggestion. I'm just asking. I don't know, because there's anyone on the board will come to say, hey, you know what? I feel strong about this, but not be able to talk to the policy until it's done meeting time, and then I have to, or anyone else, I have to try to, okay, well, how do I get this done? Okay. Right.
Hello, there we go.
There you go.
So, Chair, where was I? So not having a policy in place for this kind of situation in terms of a commissioner commenting upon the implementation or administration of policy creates questions about meetings. So we certainly wouldn't want to pursue a system where we're just giving comment about
Right.
policies because it creates Open Public Meetings Act problems. I can't manufacture something off the top of my head as we sit here today for how you could implement a system whereby commissioners could comment, but it could be done. It just can't be done in the way we would contemplate it now without something in writing. And I'd have to noodle on that for a bit.
Okay. So Eric, I'm fine with it. Just, if you want to come back to the next, their policy committee and then talk to them about how you think we can talk about it in there too. They can talk about it and then bring it to us. That's what you want, how you want to do it too, or you want to bring it to a meeting. Just
Well,
asking.
let me think about that
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
But your
Got it.
point is taken, and it's certainly something that we should be thinking about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, Commissioner Burris, you have something?
So
you-
back when we were having an issue with our policy appointment or our committee appointments, I think I okayed it through you that we could each, send a email to the chair saying these are, what I'd like to be on, these are what I wouldn't like to be on. And that was approved as long as there wasn't a response. Isn't
Yeah.
that kind of the same?
Not really, because that has more to do with a set item, such as I don't want to be on this committee. Whereas if we're engaging in a deliberation and a discussion, for example, I don't think that we should have a third party escort with us at stations. That invites comment a lot more than sort of A, B, C, D. I want to be on this committee. I don't want to be on that committee. Even then, I think the chair in that specific capacity, I don't recall the exact facts of that scenario, but what I could say is that I wouldn't tell you, I wouldn't advise anybody on this board to simply provide comment to the chair that could be easily disseminated to anybody else. So I'd need to know more about how that particular situation worked. I don't recall. All I know is that general comments to any member of the board about a particular policy invite questions about open meetings problems. And this situation is different than who's going to be on what committee and who doesn't want to be on what committee.
The difference between how we did policy and guidance before is we took the old policy and guidance, went through it, the committee decided what it ought to be, and then brought it before the board as a draft, maybe a second draft. But they didn't bring individual items as we've been doing tonight. And I personally don't think we should bring individual items before the board, entire board, or we're going to take forever. But we can take sections. We can maybe we can send out sections for review and get comments on paper. But spending the commissioner meeting time going through every one of them, I don't think that's a good use of time.
Commissioner Fuller, let me clarify. So are you discussing wants for a commission on the commission in the guidelines or in the ISA policy? I just wanted to make sure I agree right.
As it's revised and rewritten, reformatted, do you want us to bring every change as we make it before the board? I don't think that discussion should take place simply because it's going to take a lot of time. You need to trust the committee to draft the best that we can, and maybe in sections, send out the sections. There's about 15 different sections in that body of, and I think develop one, send it out for review. That review comes back. We can do that back and forth without violating any any uh, problems. Because we're just passing something back and forth, right? Right, Eric?
No.
Okay.
You want me to expand on that? I'm happy to. All right. So the Open Public Meetings Act is construed in favor of openness. And if we have any dialogue regarding policy between a two-person committee, we're fine. But if we go outside of that two-person committee and we begin exchanging ideas, drafts, edits, revisions, suggestions, that's a discussion under the Open Public Meetings Act. That's a meeting. You'd have to give notice of a special meeting 24 hours in advance, yada, yada, yada. So keep it within the committee is my message to you.
And that applies to, we learned that you don't put carbon copy more than on publication. You're forwarding something that two people wrote to three other people or two other people. That's a violation too, just the content of emails. So passing paper back and forth is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So then you would recommend the committee come back with a final draft, and that final draft been reviewed. And
So your question is it appropriate? Is it reasonable, I guess? Is it lawful for a two-person committee to simply come up with a final draft and provide it to the full board for consideration? And that's how it's done. That's how it should be done. That the committee that establishes the final policy and procedure and gives it to the board for full consideration there. It's not meant for editing as the full body with the policy going out and getting comment.
so
That's not how it's supposed to be done.
So if the board rejects that, they go back to the committee and revise it?
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes.
Okay. So that can be the mechanism for getting comment is by having a vote. And if the vote is in favor of accepting, then that's the end. If it's not in favor of accepting, then back to the writing room.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner Fuller, that would be a very clean way of doing it. And that's how it's typically done. The draft is presented to the full body, the body votes on it, and then the committee that drafts the policy or works through the policy, they have their marching orders and they make revisions accordingly to get it back to you, the full body, for purposes of having dialogue about it in an open meeting to get to a final policy.
Okay, we need to have your guidance on that. You were hesitant about the station visits. You had some concerns about that, and
well, we're here in an open meeting, and I don't want to hamstring Chair Baruso from moving forward in the meeting. I don't want to rehash the station visits issue here tonight.
okay, I think we should move on.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. I know it's kind of hard to track, but it's probably not even tracked. But you can tell me later or look at it. Do you don't have a number of maybe like Commissioner Fuller made that type of violation that commissioners did that type of thing at all? Probably no one tracks that, right? Did we violate the Open Public Meeting Act some way?
Oh, I don't think anybody's violating the Open Public
No,
Meetings
what I'm
Act.
saying, Eric, is there a mechanism that we track that so we know how many times? I don't know how many times have we done it or how this commission does it. Probably not. Just asking if anyone can remember, but that's okay. I just thought I'd ask. I know it's happened a couple of times, so I just want to find out.
I'm not sure I fully understand the question, so we might follow up after the
Yeah,
meeting, you and
yeah.
I.
Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, Kellen. Continue.
No, we
Hold on,
want to
oh,
move
yeah.
on, but is what you know, if I heard you right, said you would like the committee to come up with entire notebook and then present it. Versus what we did tonight, which is they came up with some proposed smaller sections of it. And we had a good discussion about it. Are you saying that what we did tonight, I don't want to talk about the policy and procedure
Mhm.
station visits, but just the process that we did tonight? Are you saying that that's wrong?
I'm not saying it's wrong at all. I'm saying that the customary procedure is for a policy committee to develop an entire policy and then present it to the board. I'm not saying what you did tonight is wrong. I'm only saying that that's typically how it's done, how the final policy is developed and then presented. But no, it's not wrong. It's just different.
And that would be each individual policy, not the entire manual.
Well, every agency is different. It could be the entire manual, but it could also be an individual policy.
Okay.
We don't want to spend 30 minutes talking about each one. I think that would not be a good. So that's why I like your idea, but that of get it all drafted and then bring it in.
Commissioner Medina, do you want to continue?
Yes. So I think the idea was we had a couple policies to bring, the station visits for one, which we will go back to committee on, but there's a draft we could have voted on. Like you were talking about, the other one is, there's a JLM policy in your packet. That was a proposed policy, and that one is following what we are currently doing now, which was not the same as what the book said.
Yeah, comments? Commissioner Burris, you're looking at me like you want something. Okay, go ahead.
We're kind of going down a path, I believe, on that's going to be a little restrictive on station visits. Currently, and in this policy, board is invited to a total of 4 JLM meetings per year. JLM is one of the few times we get to really interact with labor. And it's the only time that we actually get to see how labor and management interact with each other. So I would like to see that we are represented at all JLM meetings instead of just 4 year.
Commissioner Medina?
Does the chief want to give a reason for why we were looking at that?
So we actually made this change a while ago, and the update to the policy actually reflects what we've been doing for a while. And the goal was so that the union and the administration could have open and honest communication and exchange ideas and work on problems. And then the commissioners could come in and both get a summary of what's been going on and participate in JLM. We've had concerns because we've gotten into the weeds in JLM that commissioners have jumped in and said, no, do this instead of that, or have, no, you should not do that and you should do this training instead of that training. And so after a conversation and some discussion with the union, the idea was to have an opportunity where we could meet and have a conversation and be honest with each other. And then the commissioners could still come on a quarterly basis. Again, it's your document. How you choose to edit the document is up to you. That was why we changed sometime last year. But again, it's your guidelines.
I completely understand what you're saying. I get it.
Okay. You got more? Continue?
Okay, we can go back to it then if that is what the board wants. Go back to committee.
All for it.
Are you all for it going back to committee or for the policy? Okay. Then I'd like to move that we approve the joint labor management policy, which is 8.1.1, as written in our packets.
Motion on the floor, Commissioner Medina, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Burris. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing seen none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you. Do you have anything else on the committees?
Okay, the last item was the fire district issued and owned equipment and supplies, and I believe we wanted to take that back to committee. Anyway, but is there any discussion on that? You guys have the notes.
None?
No.
Third item. Back to, I'm done with that one.
Any additional questions based off of the minutes?
Just I have a question again, because on the June 5th one, on Culture Engagement Committee. So could you tell me, please, how it overlaps the other committees? Because this is to me, is a commissioner committee, and I know that Director Stevens has been doing a lot of work, and Therese has, but I don't know what they're doing. And I'm just kind of want to see, maybe Chief, maybe we can get some type of presentation from Director Stevens and Therese next meeting about the work that's been done and what is being done. I think that's the reason why, again, this as a commissioner committee, the Cultural Engagement Committee, is to help out with that plan. But I don't even know what the plan is right now. And I know there was work done. I know that Lawrence Garrett came in and helped out with a lot of things, but I don't know what the plan looks like. Yes, please, if possible. Is the committee open for that? You open for that, Bill? For to come back? Okay. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So it kind of just goes back to just want to see what's there and how really it's more how commissioners can help with that plan and that program going forward. So, first, anything else? Mr. Patino?
Good.
Okay. And ends the committee commissioner committee reports. Thank you. Item 7, down to military policy. Oh, thank you.
We wanted to go back and look at it again.
It's going back to committee.
Come back.
Okay.
All right.
For
go ahead, Chief.
military policy, I'm
Yes.
gonna pass off the microphone to Director Ganem.
Good evening, everyone. Before you tonight, we have an updated military policy. Back in September of 2019, the board adopted an updated military policy. And as we migrated our policies to Lexipol the last couple of years, we review every one before we do that. And there were some updated legalese that needed to be included. Also, the finance and HR divisions both recommended changes to how we process military paid MPD, military pay differentials, and some of the accruals that this policy included. So we vetted that with our legal counsel. At the time, it was a different board last year. We did vet it through the Policy and Procedure Committee. And then we went to Joint Labor Management and sent it to the union. The union came back, had some questions. They had their legal counsel review it. It's gotten sort of bogged down in the process, but at our recent JLM meeting, the union approved the policy. So that's why it's on your agenda tonight to approve.
Thank you, Director Gale. Any questions from the board? No. Okay, I'll take a motion. Motion, that's your motion, Mr. Fuller?
Hmm.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Burrs. Any discussion on the motion? Military policy at all? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ganem. Administrative team report, item number 8.
So the board received their staff reports for the month. If there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Again, I'd ask that abbreviations be expanded a little bit. Sometimes I don't know what some of those letters mean, and
Okay. Do you have an example of something that,
EHR.
EHR is an electronic health report. So that's the MRF. That's the medical form that the firefighters complete
Okay.
on the tablet when they go out and treat somebody.
Okay. I guess there's other examples of that things that whenever you put a 3-letter or 4-letter thing, you might type in parentheses around the first time you use it.
Yep. We can make that change.
Any other questions? Thank you,
Oh,
Chief.
the
Oh, go
South
ahead.
King Fire Explorer Group. Who's heading that up?
That still lives with Chief Smith. This project actually started last year. It's been in the budget cycle for 2 years now. Chief Smith's been working through the process of establishing the cadre. He's been working through the process of getting us insurance and getting us affiliation so we can be an Explorer Post. We actually are Explorer Post 39. So Chief Smith's responsible for that, and that is now being supported by Chief Anderson as well.
I'm glad to see this put together. I've experienced some of the activities of the one that's in the north part of the district, and we had some of them at the show, at the open house, and Mark Thompson is on the board of that. And,
Yeah,
it's-
that's the Zone 3 Explorer Post.
Yeah.
So same concept.
yeah,
We'll just have our own.
Yep.
Any other questions for the chief? Thank you. So item 9. Chief Devenbaugh,
Oh, I
floor
do
is
have one.
yours.
First short on rescue swimmers. Is that the case? We are,
No, we are not short on rescue swimmers.
okay, I must have read it wrong.
BC Michaels was in charge of the rescue swimmer program. Since he was promoted, we were backfilling positions for leadership.
Okay. We got enough of them.
Yes.
Okay, it's yours.
Commissioners, thank you. So as you had received packet, sorry, on mobile integrated health that I sent you for the project proposal. So I want to just go over and review that very quickly. So the idea of the program is to help the people that we can't always assist through 911 calls. And they go to the hospital and they can't really be assisted there for what their true need is. So the mobile integrated health program will help them to get to the services they need. The team will work with them, explore their needs and their special situations, and hook them up with the proper resources for what they are experiencing. So we kind of have a unique in to do that as the fire service. We are a trusted agency overall within our community, and it gives us a unique ability to access patients and help them get directed to where they need to go. Some of these people are experiencing different issues that they may not even know where to begin reaching out for help. or they may not have the language skills, or they may just be in a different socioeconomic class. And so we're going to be able to get in and help them with those needs. There's multiple benefits for our community members, and we reach them through helping with those complicated services, and it gives us an ability to focus our services, our normal 911 services, for the higher acuity calls and to free them up in that way. So current team that we have established right now, we've hired a care coordinator. We have a nurse that is a RN, and we currently already have a social worker as well. So we've brought them on board. We're actually training with Puget Sound Fire, who has a very similar program and is well established. So they have gone through some of those initial trial and error periods, and we learned from their mistakes, or trials, I should say, along with the trials at other departments and the different programs that they had. And we are following what they have already learned from. So initially, we're going to have them responding as a co-response and a referral only. The first couple of months will be referral only. After that, they will go to co-response with the teams. So the main focus at the beginning, of course, is going to be on our frequent EMS users. Again, it goes to some of the things that we can address with chronic disease management and improved access to the healthcare. But the biggest one is improved access to the proper healthcare. And then we have items that we can help with, such as fall prevention as well. These are our numbers so far. So January through April this year, 87 callers produced 660 calls. And these are our high frequency callers. In 2019, using the same information to base this off of, 130 callers had 1157. This year, if we remain on target, we are going to hit just under 2,000 generated by these frequent use callers. So we are making a great attempt to curb that. We do have a need down the road, and we have potential to expand the program to actually address more of these callers, but it will require expanding our funding for the program. King County EMS is currently speaking to the need for MIH programs and is looking at dedicating more funding to the MIH programs, but that is as far as we are in the conversation at this point. We do not have numbers attached to that yet. So we can seek funding through grants additionally, and as we grow, I am hoping to develop partnerships potentially with PD and even looking at it with the hospital. So the stable funding and the plans that we have for increasing that is going to look at options beyond just increasing through partnerships. It will look at grant funding necessary, and operational funds as well will have to be dedicated if we are to expand the program. And on that note, how can I answer any questions for you?
We had a program that operated for a number of years and eventually faded out. What's the, for those that maybe aren't familiar with it, what was the key difference? I can see the key difference is that we're adding more professional help in those that are involved. And one could ask, well, isn't that the responsibility of other agencies to take care of people, public health, or some other? But I think the individual is in contact with a group, the fire department, that identifies, rather than somebody going to the hospital. You're identifying a person that needs help and gets them into a process, rather than them having to go to. We used to call them frequent callers, or they were
Frequent flyers.
yeah. And but you're attacking the problem from from a preventative standpoint, so you don't get frequent flyers. I think that's great.
Thank you. So yes, we are attacking it from a different angle, so to speak. So it currently is utilizing the emergency resources on a large scale. And so this is an attempt to not only help prevent some of those calls in the future, but also to meet our citizens where their need is. So they don't know how to get to those other resources, so they call us. And this is an attempt to come in after the 911 call and to help mitigate what it is that they need to do and get to. And we can help them get there. We can make those connections for them.
You're making an initial diagnosis.
No, sir, we are looking at whether the need be medical,
Okay, more than just,
correct, and then getting them to the resources that are best equipped. It's not meant to be an ongoing assistance for curing whatever the ailment is necessarily. It is meant to be a come in, what is the need? Let me connect you to the resources. It doesn't mean it's never going to happen again, but it may prevent them from needing to call 911 for that issue.
that handoff to another agency is probably what identified the problem with the other program. It didn't have that kind of skill, and they do the resource referral. Anyway, what other agencies or departments in the I guess of the zone or in the area, how is ours different?
Ours is very closely related to what Puget Sound Fire is currently doing, which every department that has their own program has slight variations within it, including not having nurses, where we can go in on some of the co-response calls and possibly prevent the person from needing to go to the hospital. So the nurses within the program is fairly unique to Puget Sound. And I believe Vashon also has now started a program with a nurse as well. But a lot of the programs are set up in a multitude of ways. Most of them rely on social workers. And so we are kind of doing a variation of that.
Come on, you guys got it.
Oh.
First,
Been talking all night.
go ahead.
I am a huge believer in the concept. I have been able to, long ago, we did some stuff that really helped with the frequent flyers. You had some statistics up there on X number of people generating number of calls. Love to see you keep doing that, and so that there's actual data driven something to say, oh, and guess what? We need a second one.
Yes, I can support that. There's already more referrals than what this team is going to be able to attend to. They are going to have to prioritize the referrals that we're already receiving. And unfortunately, that means we will not have the resources to go to everything that is referred to us.
But even then, hopefully we can see that all volume has dropped on what we're able to do.
I will love to provide you that data.
And take it too, Chief, that on these frequent calls, the data-driven information is also geographic areas that frequently go to.
I have not broken it down by geographic area at this point. It would be challenging in some aspects to do that, but I can look into that and see if we can break it down into some geographic areas.
Just wondering, because I know the hours operation for MIH are
The initial hours of operation are going to be Monday to Thursday, and they will be working 10-hour days, so 7 to 5 style hours. Okay, and then as we expand, I'd like to see us have 7-day-a-week coverage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Chief Deverbal, Chief Winter, thank you. Oh, you guys have worked hard on this, And it's long in coming, and I applaud you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're down to item number 10, the June budget.
She's special. Good evening again. Well, we are halfway through the year, the fiscal year, and we would expect to be at about 50% of budget. And we are doing pretty well. We are 46 and 74 hundredths of a percent year to date, putting us at 3 and 26 hundredths of a percent under budget. But that is going to change because last month you approved 2 contracts, 2 CBAs. And with the ratifications of those contracts, we are now in the process of processing those increases, and those will go out in the July cycle. So I would expect that the cushion that we are currently seeing in our year-to-date percentage is going to decrease significantly. We did budget for these increases, so we should be on track with what we budgeted, but we are not going to be 3.26% under budget for the year. With the particulars, we have Finance Supervisor Kelsey Barrett here tonight.
Okay, so for mid-month, we have $58,062.35. Accounts payable warrants totaling $1,221,793.82. Payroll direct deposit totaling $1,568,231.17. Our payroll taxes totaling $336,789.82. And then our medical claims processed at $232,640.12 for a total approval of $3,417,517.28.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Director Ganem, I just had a question real quick. And I know you guys are going into the negotiations with the BCs, but is there, when you forecasted some of that money, have you forecasted anything for what you expect? Is there any increases on the BC contract at all? Can you speak about or no?
Well, the BC's wages are in fact tied to the firefighter contract already, so that has been included. Anything new would not have been included in the budget cycle.
Thank you.
I move to approve the vouchers.
Thank you. Is there a motion by Commissioner Vadino? Is there a second?
Second that.
Second by Commissioner Burris. Any other discussion on the vouchers? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have approval of the vouchers. So, any other business? Chief, I know you have to go.
It was canceled.
Oh.
We rushed through everything.
Can I ask the question? So how many HOAs have you seen for the FBC? Have you visited? Oh, just curious.
Tonight was supposed to be our first HOA. So we've been pretty much at community groups up until now,
Okay.
but they were afraid we were going to take too long.
Okay. All right. He's the other. Thank you, Chief. And I did see I forgot to comment. I did see was that the fire you're on yesterday that you were talking about on Monday, the other day about heading up a little bit and leading for a while?
Yes, that was, the fire that was on the news yesterday was the fire you and I spoke about.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Chief. Any other business? Okay. If not, we're adjourned. Thank you. Got you out. See, I'll try to get you out.
See the soot on your face.